Welcome to Real Chat with Kat, the podcast that's all about real conversations for real transformation. I'm your host, Kat Polsinelli, professional speaker, MC, and best-selling international author. Here, we tackle the tough stuff, the mud that we all have found ourselves in. We talk about the pivots, the challenges, and the victories that shape our lives and our businesses. From overcoming trauma and finding your voice to navigating life's unexpected twists, we get raw, honest, and open. You'll hear from inspiring guests who share their stories of resilience, healing, and growth. Whether it's breaking through emotional abuse, embracing self-worth, or thriving in entrepreneurship, you'll find connection, empowerment, and the tools to keep you moving forward. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and get ready for stories that hit home and conversations that make a difference. Let's get real together. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today on this episode of Real Chat with Kat. I'm so excited to have you here with me today, and I can't wait to share this amazing human with you guys. April is just, I love your space, April. I love what you bring. I know that we've done some things. We had a panel discussion and stuff, and I thank you for creating this space for me and Agape as well. It was a beautiful space, but I'm super excited to bring what it is that you do in your realm to this space. It's really interesting. And I've talked about this quite a few times on the podcast this year, but I feel like we are definitely in a space and a time of coming back to self, of being present. And what a great way to have a conversation about that than sharing what it is that you do. So thank you so much for joining the podcast today.
Well, thank you for having me. This is a lot of fun, Kat. You're such a great, just your charisma, who you are, everything that you do. What's not to love about you, Kat? So I'm grateful to be here.
Thank you. I love that so much. I will take that. Thank you. As we jump in, I always like to have my guests introduce themselves. So, April, will you tell everybody what is it that you do? Like, who are you? What is it you do?
Hmm. Yeah, that's quite a bit, right? To share about what I do. What I would like to share is what I've experienced. And I think
Okay.
that's what's important for the work that I do. So my name is April Wyett, and I'm the founder of Living with Intention, CO. And living with intention for me means really putting our attention on our intention. And I realized that about when I first started my business back in 2017, and I moved away from nonprofit. And it was because of feeling burned out, having to support at-risk youth, which I really enjoy doing. But throughout the day, I was very depleted. I would give, hoping that the youth would follow, right? These goals, these leads, things to get them ready for work, because we were working with the Department of Labor under a grant for at-risk youth. And then I realized I'm the one that I need to show up for myself. And if I can't do that, then what am I for these youth, really?
Mm,
And so I opened up my own business because it was about giving back, being of service, right? The youth that I was serving were at risk, as I said. So their nervous systems were very dysregulated, and they weren't even aware of it. It's that the hamster wheel, right? I have to do in order to receive, or the conditional types of love.
mm,
If I do this, then I'm worthy of that. Because they had extreme backgrounds of being in foster care, single parents, recovering addicts, dropouts, high school dropouts. They had numerous adverse childhood experiences, ACEs. And that's what qualified for the program, although there was no qualification of how are you showing up, right? And how are we regulating our system? That wasn't part of the training for them. It was still jumping through the hoops, keeping
Mm.
their nervous system activated. And so for me, when I realized that, I had a choice, right? Even though I did enjoy working with these youth, it was more of, well, what fills my cup? How can I support people who are ready to heal, who are wanting to find those spaces within themselves to where they can remember who they are? And that's why I started living with intention. Yeah, so that brings me to who I am and what I do. And really, it was for myself, as I said, as I stepped away from that nonprofit role. And I was working with another nonprofit, interesting enough, when I stepped away from the other one. And we were working with the Department of Labor again, supporting returning citizens in correctional facilities. I think I
Ooh.
shared that with you before on our initial conversation.
Yeah.
And so I introduced simple box breathing, and just the shift with both men and women, how they recognize, like, wow, what just happened? I feel different. This feels foreign to me. In fact, a few of them felt uncomfortable by feeling relaxed in prison. Like they were like, oh, I'm feeling like I need to put my guard up. I just relaxed enough. And so, working with that for them, understanding what wellness is, how to regulate the nervous system. They were going to be, returning back to society, and they needed the tools and resources to keep them centered, to keep them grounded, so that way they could make conscious choices. And so I then discovered a biodynamic breathwork and trauma release system because I started searching for breathwork modalities that were
Mm.
science based, that were backed, that had a lot of training involved. It wasn't a weekend, oh, come and breathe and you get this certification. No, right? You're in it, you're learning. And really, I learned a lot about myself. So for me, sharing about me, it's more about the experiences that I've had and unlearning at the same time. I think a lot of
Mm.
people start a career or start something, they think it's going to look a certain way. And then when we get in it, it's like, oh, well, wait a minute here. This is very different than what I thought it was. But then having that choice of what direction you want to take is very important too. Uh, so that's how I started living with intention and supporting people, it, energetically wise, with Reiki, sound healing, and then brought into the biodynamic breath work and trauma release. And I actually um, was able to heal from a traumatic car accident with my mother, who was heavily medicated when I was 9 years old. So I didn't remember how I flew out the back window when she rolled the car, but during the breathwork session, my body remembered,
Mm.
as science shows now that the somatics, it it holds emotions, it holds memory. And through a deep breathwork experience that doesn't really happen online, but more in person, uh, I was able to open and release that trauma that was held in my body for decades. And I was so surprised that that had happened. I had not even thought about the car accident or anything. I was more of, what am I going to learn? How am I going to support this other person? And then in the midst of it, it was me that received the healing. Yeah. I know that was a lot. It was a kind of a backdoor approach to who I am and what I do. But this is what I love to do. I love to hold that space for other people, be a sanctuary of support because we all need that right now. It's so
Mm,
important to have that human connection, to have that safe space so our nervous system can settle. So that way we can breathe a little deeper, connect to our bodies. That's the the somatics of it.
yeah. No, I think it's a beautiful layout. And honestly, thank you for kind of giving the backstory as to how that kind of brought you to where you're at, because I think that there's a beautiful connection and understanding something that most of us are not taught. I know I wasn't, which is that there's so much that we can go through that the body holds on to that we aren't even aware of, right? I've talked to so many people that are like, oh yeah, but this and this happened, but like I'm over it and it's fine. And it's like, yes, maybe on a logical standpoint, you are. But when we go back and really look at like how your brain is holding on to things, it's very, very different. And, it kind of brings me to understanding like that there's a conscious realm and a subconscious realm when it comes to the brain and understanding those activities, which again, something that we don't talk about, right? We think, or at least I thought from a very young age, that like however I think is exactly how it does, right? And if I say that I don't do this or I don't believe in that, then like cool. That is how it is. And it's really interesting now that we have science and stuff that is really starting to show and back that up at like how much things ingrain in the brain that
Mm.
we don't think about, but is still carrying us to this day, which then leads to decisions that you make or don't make, or directions that you go or don't go. Or, I mean, they're even talking about the relatabilities of not only stress, but heart attacks and cancer cells, and like all these
Mhm.
things that play such a huge part in our biology and who we are. And it's based on all these things that we have experienced, which is crazy when you think about it. And at the same time, to me, I think it's very fascinating because it's like, okay, so if I can understand the things that I have experienced, then there's also a way for me to move past that and really have this beautiful sense of, I don't want to say control, but I think that's the best term I can come up with, right? Of who we are in life, the direction that we actually want to go in life, the decisions that we really want to make in life, instead of feeling like you're being led by some unknown force and you're like, oh, okay, my gut was telling me, instead of really understanding how your body is
Mm.
talking to you. And it's so funny that we're having this conversation, and you were talking about this release that you were having because I just saw what was I doing? I was scrolling Instagram. I was scrolling
No way.
Instagram. I was no way, and I came across this space, and there's this gentleman talking about these different ways to heal. And some of it was somatic and different releases, but it was Leanne Rimes is who it was that he was doing
Mm.
work on. And she had cameras to be able to intimately show these different releases and what it did for her. And I mean, like, there were some where she was like completely breaking down on camera. She was breathing through to let things go. And it was so powerful to be able to see and then also be like, oh, a celebrity who's actually like everyone else. So it was, kind of this really neat twofold because I feel like we have so many people that we put on a pedestal or we're like, oh, they don't experience these things because of their status or whatever. And it's like, but we're all human and everybody experiences things, right?
Mm. It is so true. And I love that you bring that up about witnessing her release. And really it's in biodynamic breath work and trauma release system, we say that the trauma is an event that happened, but body's still holding it. It didn't have an ability or a safe space to complete the cycle of that
Mm,
release. So that big emotional release that she had, it could come up as emotions, it could come up as sound like wailing, it could be shaking, however that person's nervous system is set up, allowing giving that space to be safe enough. That's the key right there, to allow it to come through, because we all hold those and we all feel it, as you said, and it's the nervous system that's activated even before we have a thought. It's the amygdala. Whoop, red flag. Something doesn't feel right. I got to keep
Mm-hmm.
safe. I got to hold it in. And when we can breathe, it's with the biodynamic breath work, it's a connected breath. It's an embodied breath. It's not, let's get out of your body and go travel somewhere. It's what's happening in real time. What are you sensing? How can we touch into this? How can your body move with it? Let that release through the nervous system happen organically. And then having somebody such as myself to sit and ask, what are you sensing there? I see that your neck is kind of
Mm.
moving this way. What would happen if you just gently touched back there, breathed into that space and let your arm move, and oh yeah, I feel that this tension in my throat and my cervical area is like holding and being able to open and release and express, right? We tend to hold everything here with the fear, not being able to say what we want, or being afraid that other people won't receive
Mm.
what we say or express, or been shut down from a very young age, to hold our tongue, to not be, especially women, right? So that's what I love about the biodynamic breath work also. And that sounds like an amazing release that she had. And as long as we're in a safe space and we are in that environment to where we know our window of tolerance, that's what's key. There's so many different breath works out there right now. I really want people to do research,
Mm.
not just jump on the bandwagon because this is a fad or because this person had this experience. I've had people reach out to me, Kat, that they wanted the breathwork experience, and I asked them why, and let's have a discovery call. And then it's, well, actually, I'm not a good fit for you, because either they have some mental conditions, or they are pregnant, or they have epilepsy, or they have severe asthma. I'm not here just to serve everyone who wants breath work. I want to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that they're safe and supported. And that's so important right now. And that's a big concern. People want the relief, they want to find something, but please do your research. Find the breath work that fits your nervous system.
Yeah, there is a lot out there,
There
especially with
is.
social media and influencers and
Yes.
just like all the things. And I never understood what breath work even meant when I first started looking into it, right? Like, I knew that, I had a therapist that offered box breathing, right? The 4 by 4 by 4, which was interesting, but I had a really hard time like sitting with it. It was one of those things where you like get it on a piece of paper and they're like, this is what you do and this is what you're going to imagine. And I could never get it to work. I think I got more frustrated with it than anything because I was like, this is stupid, right? That was the first thing, which isn't helpful either. But that was kind of the space of it. And then I remember doing some training with hypnosis. And that's when I learned about the vagus nerve. And I started learning about the reticulated activated system. If I just said that right, if not, correct me. Reticulated, well, reticulated activating system. And like all these other things. And it was like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense, And so I was introduced to a different type of breathing. It's the same thing similar to box breathing, but it was what they call 4-4-7. So four in,
Yes.
hold for four, and release for seven. But what was really interesting too is that you actually have to be like aware of one, what you're doing, two, that you're breathing in through your nose and then out through your mouth, right? Like there's just all these different things that I wish would have been explained because I was just like sitting at home
Mm.
trying to figure it out. And I was like, I don't understand why this is not working. Like it's, but and it's
I'm breathing here. Why isn't
right. I'm
something
like, I'm
working?
breathing. I don't understand why. But that has been probably one of my favorite was learning that one. And then I was introduced to a beautiful mentor of mine that I've worked on and off with for the last like 3.5 years. And she did like a whole session on breath work. And it was this deep breathing technique. And what I didn't realize was us as individuals, we can be so shallow with our breath, right? Like we
Hmm.
kind of breathe into the chest, and then that's kind of it. And then there's like this whole nother section that you can add into your breathing when you're taking this deep breath and it's in the stomach. And I thought, how in the absolute hell does this work? But it was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. So I'd love for you to explain to anyone that maybe isn't familiar with breath work or they're like, aren't we just like breathing and counting? Does that help? Like,
Yes.
how,
Yeah.
how do you begin to understand what on earth breath work is and how it relates to the body and everything else?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Kat, because you're absolutely right. There's so many people talking about breath work, and just as you explained so perfectly about the box breathing, you're like, this is frustrating. I don't like this. So what the breath is so powerful because that's the only thing that you can control in the autonomic nervous system. So it's working
Interesting.
with your nervous system. So that's the dilation of your eyes, that's other automatic nervous system, that we can't control, but the breath we can. So, and
Hmm.
that gets down, as you said, in the diaphragm. So that's diaphragmatic breath. That's reaching the lower lobes of the lungs, as you perfectly described. Most of us are shallow breath up in the upper chest. And that's the armoring. That's the protecting. We get into that rhythm without even noticing it. And then our muscles hold that for us. That's the
Mm.
body's job. So I want you to think about a baby, a newborn baby breathing. Oh, that big belly, right? You watch their bellies breathe. And then something happens. I don't know when. Elementary school, I don't know, where we feel that we have to hold in the belly. We have to hold things tight. We gotta we gotta be a certain way, and I'm gonna bring it back to women, the body, suck it in, that type of thing. And so we hold there. And so while we invite the breath in through the nose and out through the mouth is a subtle way to um, either activate the sympathetic nervous system, that's the fight, flight, freeze. Now they say fawn. I think there's even a flock now. I don't know. There's like all these F's, but that is that heightened state, right?
Mhm.
Or into the parasympathetic nervous system, but it's how you're breathing. So if you're breathing in slow and exhaling longer, that's in the parasympathetic. That's the rest and digest. That's where the body can ease a little bit. This is where the cells can, replenish themselves. Uh, Although with breath work, it's more of getting into the type of the biodynamic breath work is the outer edges of that sympathetic nervous system. So it's a connected breath. It's a little bit more rhythmic, in
Okay.
and out. Okay. And then there's holotropic, where they're and you're breathing way up here. And I'm not knocking it. It's whatever suits that person, as long as they don't have complex PTSD. Um, that breath work might work for you. But those that have complex PTSD, most likely, because I have a lot of clients that were re-traumatized by that type of
Wow,
breath work.
interesting.
Yeah. So that there's different styles of breathing, as I'm getting at here. And what's happening is it's working with your nervous system. So whether it is that activating, with that sympathetic nervous system, just lightly, gently, or it's going into the parasympathetic nervous system, the relaxation, the easing of the breath. There's different styles of breath work for different purposes. Yeah. Did
Interesting.
I Did I explain that enough? Or is there another
Yeah.
part of that question maybe that might be coming up about
Yeah,
the breath
that's
work at all?
I mean, I know that there are tons of different types of breath work, and like you said, I definitely think that you need to do actual research. Searching it on Google does not count. Let me just put that out there. Searching it on Google does not count as research, everybody, okay? Because like I have to remind myself of that sometimes where I'm like, Google is not the research, it's just the starting point. But you were talking about, this biodynamic breath work and how there's this science that backs it up as well, right? That we have these studies, we have these things that have been done. And I kind of want to dive into this a little bit because I know that people are looking for ways to come back to self, or they're looking for ways to calm themselves down or deal with things outside of traditional therapy and like all of the 10,000 things that people tell you should do, from eating correctly to meditating to doing things before bedtime to exercising this much amount. So I really want to bring this in because I don't think that for a lot of people that breath work is one of the things that we think of, right? Unless you get into something like yoga, which yoga if I if it's done properly, has a lot of breathing techniques
Mhm.
built into it, but I want to kind of talk about the science behind this so that people understand like these are the reasons why. And while this seems so simple, which it really can be, it does take consistency and stuff like that. But I feel like we're always looking for the reason why, right?
Mm.
Why should I do this? What's the actual science? Is this woo woo? And I feel like sometimes breath work kind of falls right on that cusp for some people. So I'd love to kind of talk about the science behind it a little bit just to kind of ground it in for anyone that is like I used to be, where it was like I really needed to understand the behind before I was even going to test anything out,
Sure.
right?
Sure. I totally get that. Yes. And I have people reach out to me and ask me all the time, what is this? And I like to talk about the science because that's what drew me to it. I
Mm,
want to be part of something uh, that can be applicable, that people can understand, comprehend why, what's happening. And so we're bringing it back again to the nervous system. This is this our nervous system is so complex. And with the breath work, it's really about building capacity, regulating your nervous system. So, for the biodynamic breath work, what sets it apart from other breathwork practices is that not only are you tuning into the breath, of course, felt
hmm
sensations. So, we have six components. We have the breath, we have movement, because that's the first thing that stops, as I talked about with the fight, flight, freeze. We allow your body to move. We add the touch, our own personal touch. We can touch into the acupressure points, helping to ease, helping to open. Then we have sound. So, sound, just as I said, like the wailing or a tone, or just even ah, like it's been a long day, right? That's
hmm
moving energy through your diaphragm, up through your thoracic, your cervical, out your mouth, hearing your own voice, right? As we've been shut down most of the time. And then emotional expression, such as you shared about watching that Instagram. We hold our emotions so tight. We don't allow that space for them to be expressed. And so that is also part of it. And then the sixth component is integration, which is like a meditation at the end where the client sits still and just easy, gentle, natural breath and just witnessing the sensations in the body, how spaces might feel open more than they did before. But also, what sets the BBTRS apart is having a resource. So, in the very beginning, I have my clients locate a resource. This is a safe space. This is a place that feels open. It could feel warm. It could feel just like it's an easier place to access in the body. Or external resource, because people who have been through trauma, sometimes their bodies don't feel safe. So
Yeah.
we locate a place that they've been to that felt safe, or maybe it's a pet or a piece of art or something that feels good to them. And that's their resource. So during the breath work, not only do we go into that connected breath, feeling into that, maybe some touch, movement, but then we have space to pendulate back to the resource. And this is where they bring it back to normal breath, and they can witness how the body holds both tension and that safety. Because most of the time, we're so focused on the tension all the time, the chronic
Hmm.
pain, the weight, the pressure in our heads and our bodies, that we forget that we do carry the capacity to hold a resource. And that is the game changer right there, because this is something that I love to share, because then that empowers people when they're going into a meeting, when they're going to have a challenging conversation with somebody, or life is just lifing, pausing and asking, where is a resource right now? Is it the
Hmm.
tree? Is it my left hand? What feels good to me right now? How can I just sit in there and just take some easy breaths and witness that I have the capacity to witness that there's both? And what am I choosing right now to focus on? What feels better in this moment? And so that builds the capacity for the nervous system. That is really, people can start to manage and understand with that emotional intelligence. I'm feeling heightened right now. I'm feeling very activated. I'm feeling angry, or whatever that sensation is coming up.
Hmm.
Okay, I can see this, I can feel it. I don't have to know exactly why this is coming up too. I think a lot of people like to
Yeah.
blame it on other people, especially if they're watching the news. People are going to blame things
Yeah.
for their feelings and their emotions, but no one can make us feel a certain way. So it's more about us coming back to ourselves, building that capacity with the nervous system and that self-regulation. That's what it's all about.
Oh, I love this. And you were talking about the feeling that comes up, right? And feeling into that feeling. And it made me think about all the times when any of us, and myself is very much included, but like we're in situations or we're dealing with things, our senses are heightened, we're ticked off, we're pissed, we're frustrated, whatever it is. But then like we have to move on, right? We have a young child that's beside us, or we have a meeting that we have to go to, and so we don't have a chance to like feel into that and then let it release. And generally, I believe they say that a feeling lasts 90 seconds, but
Yes.
sometimes we don't even give ourselves the 90 seconds to feel it. And then we move on and we wonder why we have tension headaches and all these different things. And I found that really interesting because we live in a space where it's like so much go mode, right? Just go, 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 that we're taking that emotion and being like, okay, I don't have time for this. And you like stuff it to the side and you go on to the next thing, but you never actually come back to that emotion because like you said, life is lifing and things happen. And one of the things that really helped me in the beginning when I was first learning to sit with an emotion or breathe into it was if I didn't have time in that moment, I knew that I needed to make space soon, right? And so I would find that space and take 5 minutes. And for me, it's generally a smell. So bergamot
Mm.
is one of my absolute favorites. And it's one of the most calming things for me. So anytime that I smell that, it's like it brings me into the present. I can breathe that in and feel everything. And by the time I'm done breathing that smell in, I already start to feel so
Mm,
much better, right? Like it's
that's
one of my
beautiful.
favorites. Now, that's one of the things that I have in my toolbox. But I use it a
Mhm.
lot. Like if I know that I have kind of a crazy morning and I have a podcast to come on to, I'm like, okay, 5 minutes till, we're going to sit down. We're just going to breathe, no phone, nothing else. Um, I've showed this on my socials several times. I have Palo Santos, I have a stick that I burn sometimes as well.
Yes,
And that's kind of for me, that's my reset when I have really heavy conversations around domestic violence, especially when it's like law enforcement and stuff. Once I get into my car, I literally have tea tree oil that's sitting in my car so I can just sit and
I love it.
breathe,
Yes.
because it's so much that you're bringing up, even though I've lived it, even though that I'm essentially you could say over it, it's there's still all the emotions that are tied to it every time that you share
Mhm.
your story, share things that you've been through, right? And so I know that like I need that moment before I even leave to just feel into all the things, the good and the bad and the emotions. And I'm always usually on a high after I have conversations with people like that anyway, but just like sitting with that for a moment before trying to drive away and get to the next thing. And I've learned now
Yes.
to build that into my day as well, right? Just so that I have that space, which is so interesting because I used to be the go person, right? I needed to do this to get here, to do that, take care of these patients, to get home and take care of my kids, to make dinner, to all of the things, right? And I would be so exhausted by the time I went to bed.
Mhm.
And I just thought that, okay, well, it just means I had a good day, right? I used up all the energy and now I can go to sleep. But then I wondered why I would get to the point where like little things were frustrating me, right? And
Mhm.
it just felt like everything was crashing through. And anyway, it made me think of that. And so I just, when you're talking about smells and all the different things, for anyone that's out there, that was something that really helped me. And that's my go-to. I know that smells are one of the things that really help me. I have a friend of mine that hers is more touch, so she has like certain rocks and different textures
Mhm.
and things that she does. And I think it's just this space of grounding yourself in that moment, and it allows the body and the nervous system to kind of catch back up before you
Mhm.
shove it into something else.
Yes. And you're absolutely right about from one thing to the next. And even if it's just a 30-second pause, like you said, the essential oils, I have this one from Bali that I brought back from my past retreat, and it's lavender, and it's my favorite, right? Lavender is the relaxation. It opens up. We're working cellular here, people. It's nice that, yes, these scents relax us, but it's activating something cellular in your nervous system. Everything's responding to it. So we are animals. We forget, right? We have these clothes, we're driving around in cars, living in houses. We forget that we need these natural back to basics for our nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
Earthing, walking outside, just leaning against a tree if you don't feel like hugging one. you know, just being in that space, especially spring is here,
Mm-hmm.
and really just going outside, feeling the temperature, because we're so up in our heads about things, and that's
Yeah.
our alert system, right? So if we could just bring it down to, oh, the temperature feels a little cool today, or it feels like it's warming up. Isn't this nice? Oh, now I can hear the birds. Now I'm aware of XYZ, the leaves on the trees now, instead of just
Mm-hmm.
driving one day, oh, look, it's fall. You know, you miss spring, you miss summer,
Yep.
So it's being present, just as you perfectly described. It's giving ourselves that space, that permission, really it is, the permission to pause and rise above that noise.
Mm-hmm. And I think that it's so important, especially nowadays, because we have so many things coming at us at one time, right? And I think about how many times I find myself on my phone, which I work really hard to be very aware of it, and only have certain times. But then I go other places and I find people just like enthralled in it, and it's like you're not giving yourself the space to relax, right? Like one of
Stimulation.
Oh,
Yes, it
absolutely,
stimulates
yeah.
constantly.
Yeah, I remember I was my husband and I we just started going to this gym, and I really focus on my workout, and usually we're in and out of there within about 45 minutes when we do our stuff. And I find it really interesting and no shame to anybody, I'm not judging, but it's just an observation. But like, I will see people that are there before we got there, and they're still there when we leave. But it's not because they're trying to work out for, let's say, an hour and a half. It's because they'll do a rep and then they're on their phone for 2 to 3 minutes. And then they'll go back to doing that rep and then they're on their phone for 2 or 3 minutes, right? Like it's this constant distraction. So, like, my husband doesn't even bring his phone in. The only reason I
I
bring
don't
mine in
either.
is because that's how we
Yeah.
check in is through the phone. But otherwise, it's in my pocket, unless I really want to listen to like some music. But I do not take my phone out. So when I do my reps, I count and I breathe for usually about 30 seconds to a minute, and I go and do the next one. So we can move through it a little bit quicker, but it's really
Mhm.
interesting how distracted people are. My husband and I, because it's spring, we love to go on walks, and he had had a really hard day, and he was like, I need to get outside. And I'm like, absolutely, let's go, right? Like, I'm totally down. I want to be out in the woods anyway. And so we went to a little greenway area by us, and we were walking and stuff, and there was a couple that passed us. And as the couple went by, they had this little dog, and he was just like jumping and just, he was so happy. It was so cute. And we were like, oh my gosh, that's so, and she's like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no, 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 it's totally fine. But as soon as they passed, my husband's like, did you realize that her boyfriend, whoever that is, like never looked up from his phone? And I'm like, why are you taking a walk in nature and not looking at the things around you, right? Like,
Mhm.
we're so overloaded with things
Mhm.
all the time. Like, anyone that's listening, I challenge you, right? Like, the
Mhm.
next time you are doing something outdoors, the next time you were at the gym doing something, like, I seriously challenge you not to touch your phone unless you're taking photos. I love to take photos of teeny tiny mushrooms and flowers. Okay.
Oh,
But I'm
I want to see your teeny tiny mushrooms and flowers. I love those too.
I gotta show you. I'll send you some. But it's become a thing of mine. But what I find really funny
Yeah.
is I was talking to my husband about this. I said, I remember I've always loved being outdoors. So I love to explore. I love to feel the air. I love to walk through waterfalls and things like that. I was like, but as many times as I've taken my kids out on walks and trails and things like that, I don't think I've ever experienced nature the way I do now, where I
Mm.
stop to see the small things and I stop to see the tiny flowers. And I'm like, oh my gosh, look at the little caterpillar. Like, my poor husband, I feel for him because I'm like, stop, look
My
at
husband
this.
is the same thing, same thing. It's miracles. We're witnessing miracles. This is life happening in real time.
Hmm.
You're absolutely right, Kat. The phone is a distraction. It's a habit.
Yeah.
That's all it is a habit. So if people can say, what's more important right now? Me grabbing my phone and answering that message, or taking a walk with my significant other, or being with my dog. They're just laying there waiting for us to play with them, or a cat, or your kids. What are you teaching? What are you showing? What's
Hmm.
more important? And also for yourself too. I think we bypass with screen time.
Yeah.
We're not really sitting, we're not being in that moment, we're bypassing, and it can be very dysregulation, right? It dysregulates us too without us even realizing it.
Yeah. I think that was one of the coolest things that I learned was, that we have a capacity limit when it comes to the things that
Yes.
our body and brain intake on a daily basis. And by scrolling through socials, you are overloading yourself within a matter of seconds because your brain cannot physically take in all of the information you are throwing past it, and I thought that was really intriguing to think about that. And it really got me thinking about, like, I started putting on my calendar how many times I found myself distracted on my phone. So like, if I was answering emails and then I found myself on my phone, I would put it on my calendar and I'd be like, I was on my phone for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it was, just so I could look at my week and be like, holy crap. I probably need to sit back a little bit, put my
Mhm.
phone on do not disturb. There are certain notifications, like for socials and stuff, that are turned off because I don't want to see them pop up. I don't want to see the little red thing above it because I can't handle the little red thing. So like there are certain things that I did just to cut out the feeling of needing to check it, needing to answer the call, needing to do something in that moment, and being okay with, like you said earlier, like what is more important in that moment. Because I think
Mhm.
we're like, oh, but if I could just answer it real quick, and it's like, but unless somebody is like physically hurt or something's happening, it's like not that important, right? Like everybody's going to survive, everybody's going to be okay. Right? Like it's, you can take a walk, you can do this, you can come back to it. Sometimes I'll catch myself checking a message and I'm like, that's actually not important. So I'll go back and save it as unread so that it
Yes.
stays so I can find it later. And then I'll come back to
Yes.
it at a later time. I do that all the
Especially
time.
especially emails. It's so important because if we're dysregulated or if we're activated, heightened,
Hmm.
and we're going through emails, just came off a meeting didn't go so well, whatever. It's like, okay, now I got to answer this email. How present are you going to be with the words that you're going to use in that email? How do you want that person to receive your message too?
Hmm.
So, as you said, giving space, maybe typing out a draft of the email. Don't send it. Don't send it. Leave it. Come back in an hour, or, it is etiquette, 24 hours to answer an email. And you can come back to it the next day and look at it and go,
Absolutely.
oh, wow, I need to reread the person's email to
Hmm.
see if I understand what they're saying. Because if we're in a
Absolutely.
heightened state, we take it more judgmentally for sure,
Yeah.
or it's criticizing or something like that. So pause on that, go take a walk, go do something, do some jumping jacks. I don't know, but get your body moving. That energy, that nervous energy, this is what it looks like.
Hmm.
And if you allow your body to even kind of, you stand up, soften your knees, keep your feet grounded in the floor, and just allow that kind of gentle shake to come up through your legs up to the top of your head. I'm not kidding. It's like, wow, I'm allowing that energy, that frustration, that
Hmm.
angst to come through my nervous system so I don't carry it and project it on other things.
Yeah.
That's also another awareness about self-regulation. You're building your emotional intelligence, you're understanding more about how your body works. And sometimes the mind, our brains, it's just going to go there. Right. We need to remember we have the capacity to sit back, give that space. It's so important.
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially with anxiety and stuff like that, right? It's, or getting hyped up about something, for my TEDx talk, I was so excited and like nervous and all the things, right? That I was like in the back, like doing things just to move around before I went
Yes.
on stage because I wanted to be present and calm, and in that space. And speaking of present and calm and all that, I know that you also have a freebie that you want to present to everyone, which I think is wonderful. So would you like to tell everybody, what this is, give them a little bit of information about it?
Yes. Thank you. It's just my absolute pleasure to offer this gratitude meditation. It's an MP3 and it's roughly 12 minutes long, and it really brings it back to gratitude, to feeling that space within ourselves, and then offering that gratitude to others in our lives. Because as we give, we also receive. And our minds are so powerful. It might sound like, how can that happen in a meditation? But it does. It really does. Our system responds to it. If we think about our loved ones or other people expressing gratitude, receiving that back, we actually receive more. So this is a lovely gift. Please share it with other people who might be receptive to this gratitude meditation. And that's also helps to self-regulate. So if you're feeling a little angst, feeling like you want to receive gratitude, take a listen.
Oh, I'm so excited about this one. I love I love guided meditations. Like, I love them. So, and it's definitely been something that has helped me learn to just slow down. So, we'll, of
Mhm.
course, make sure we have that information and the link in the show notes. We'll make it super easy for you guys to find it and click on. Thank you so much, April, for offering that because I love
Of
that. It's something
course.
so simple that we can implement today. As we kind of come to a close, too, how can everybody find you? Where can they connect with you? How should they follow you?
They can connect with me on livingwithintention.co and also April at livingwithintention.co. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook as well. And also, I want to extend an invitation. I have a Bali retreat coming up in
Oh.
October, and it's an all inclusive 7 night, 8 day experience that guides you through breath work. We not just explore the breath work, but fun, engaging exercises that we do as a community with each other because we're really missing that human connection, right? When people
Mm-hmm.
come together in a beautiful sanctuary such as Bali, it's on the northern shores, right on the beach. Uh, it's a sanctuary of support. This is where we can, as I said before, rise above the noise, of everything. And also, I love culture. I love learning about different cultures and people. So we go off property and
Oh,
we go
yes.
on a waterfall hike. We go to a temple that's 3000 BCE
Oh,
and we have a water purification ceremony. It's just a lovely experience to really remember who we are and to bring it back to ourselves. So if you're interested in that, please reach out to me. You can find that also on my livingwithintention.co website under retreats. And I would love to share more about that.
oh, definitely. Oh my goodness. I love that. Bali is on my list of places to visit. So,
Well,
uh,
Red Rover, come on over, Kat. You are more than welcome. Let's
yes, thank
breathe in
you.
Bali.
Oh my goodness. I would love that. So we'll have all
Be
that
amazing.
information in the show notes. April, I cannot thank you enough for sharing all of your amazing wisdom in, intentionality with the audience today. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Kat, and thank you everyone for tuning in, and I appreciate you.
Oh, yay. And of course, like I said, we'll have all the information in the show notes to make it super easy for you to connect with April to get that guided meditation. Definitely check out her retreat as well, especially if you've been feeling called to something like this. Maybe this is your sign. And of course, remember to breathe throughout your
Mm,
day, right? Takes 30 seconds, give yourself 1 minute. It doesn't take much for us to come back to a space of being present, being intentional, and expanding our capacity of
mm.
life. Life will always life. Like it just is what it
Yes.
is, right? So why not do it with an intention so that we are holding a space and giving our bodies the opportunity to calm down and release as well. So thank you so much, April, for all the information. And until next time, don't forget, do one thing positive for someone each and every day and see the difference that it makes in your life. Catch you later. Thank you so much for tuning in to Real Chat with Kat today, where real stories meet real solutions. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review on Apple, and share this with someone who may also need to hear this as well. Let's also keep the conversation going. Follow me on socials at The Lotus Effect, connect with our incredible guests, and remember, you are never alone. Your story matters, and you have the ability and the power to rewrite it. You always have a choice. Until next time, stay strong, stay inspired, and keep showing up as the incredible, unstoppable